What's going on,
Ooh.
everyone? Hope you're doing wonderful today. Welcome back to another episode of Radio Melee. We are going to get into SCL, all things, and your questions. But first, I got to introduce the wonderful, talented, powerful, eloquent Toph joining me today. Thank you so much, Toph, for being here. Holding it down as always, man. How's it going?
And I gotta introduce the illustrious, lucid,
Yes.
ubiquitous, ineffable PPMD. I
Thank
had to throw
you.
some magic on there. What's up, dude?
I love it. I love it, man. You're changing the game.
I got two things on my mind this week:
Uh-huh.
SCL and doubles.
Very important things to have on your mind. And if you guys want to talk about that and more, please use the Radio Melee command. It'll let you know where to go, get into the server, follow everyone in there where you could submit topics, and it is straightforward from there, unless you're asking for a Rick onesie. Good luck with that. That being said, Toph, do you want to get into talking about SCL and doubles, or I can throw something to you? How you feeling?
Yeah. I can tell. I mean, so, my weekend basically. So I was at SCL. I commentated.
How was that, by the way? How was that doing that live?
A lot of fun. I mean, it's cool because I'm sure you feel the same way. There's just not that many opportunities to get out of your house these days. There will be soon, we hope. But, I'm like, all right. I mean, live studio commentary. Obviously, the players are remote, but we had, it was cool to see. And we're all pretty much vaccinated at this point. It was me. I drove down with Scar. We did a little road trip. That was a lot of fun.
Mm-hmm.
Talked about some really deep stuff in the car ride down. Talked about he was listening to an audiobook on, I'll tell you about it later. It was on the concept of reciprocity, living in with nature and things like that. And we got into some deep discussions about how the Melee community, we're building off the backs of giants and things like that,
That's cool.
But it was super fun. Got to hang out with Slime, got to hang out with who else was there? Lovage, Ben SW came and hung out, and we got to commentate some really good Melee. I think anyone who watched the matches would agree this was like a crazy fucking week, right? Can we just say it? Wizzy played well. Wizzy did the unthinkable.
Yeah, I mean, really, beating Mango, right? Like,
yes, that's big.
That is massive. But then, to follow that up, beating Zayn, absolutely, incredible. Absolutely incredible performance. I consider the Mango win in itself to be really big. It seems to be almost like a sea change in the Falcon landscape, kind of what we've been talking about. One of the big themes that's been going on for, months, maybe a couple years now. And I think like we said, it's all kind of coming to a head now. And Wizzy really typifying that with his wins. I mean, none beat Mango, I think, for the first time last year, and then he did it again a little bit later. Wizzy now showing that he can do it. I mean, you really are kind of feeling like all of this stuff coming together. Falcon breaking so many barriers, winning again. Much shorter time than before Falcon won, before Wizzy won Smash and Splash. So very impressive. Very impressive. And
dude, it was the whole kind of thing where I was watching, you're watching him play, and there was almost this sense of like, I felt like it was like he was like such a protagonist. It was like, does he believe he can do it kind of thing? Because I feel like, I don't know, man, there were some moments where it was really came down to a razor's edge, and you could almost see this, like, it's like that he's starting to believe. And it was really wonderful. I think for him, it was a historic moment. Obviously, he was really, really happy with it. And he worked so hard. I actually thought it was pretty neat. He was talking about how, with the Zayn set, he actually honestly didn't get to do much preparation because he was so busy preparing for Spaceys. Wizzy and SFed and Mango. And he was kind of like, I had to just do my baseline stuff. And, Zayn wasn't ready or he wasn't expecting to run into Wizzy either. So it was just kind of like, whoa, this just kind of happened.
Yeah. Well, it's not that Zayn doesn't prepare. I mean, I'll see him put up a video every so often. He'll say, I'm playing Wizzy, or Wizzy's got some new stuff or whatever. So, but yeah, of course, I think Zayn was probably more focused on Falco and always a possible Pikachu or maybe Sheik or something. So yeah, I mean, for Falcon to come through, I think it's kind of I think that says something too about what Zayn has to think about going into more events. It's like, oh, well, Maybe X comes from somewhere, but maybe I focus less on Pikachu, more on Falcon, because that they're just so common now. And yeah, so that splits up his time. Maybe that changes Mango's dynamic. Maybe he focuses a little bit more on Falcon or not. I don't know, but it's I think more characters pushing more players means, I think more of the game can get pushed, but also there could be, maybe you're neglecting something. Maybe Zane's looks at Fox a little bit less. SFAT rolls through. It's his time, baby. You never know.
Dude, he was, that he was saying that with like Zane, this was after this wasn't even after this weekend. This was like a couple weekends ago. He was talking about, like Falcon is this character that I just always need to keep in check. Always need to mind, that I could run into any of the really good Falcons. And obviously he's lost to Johnny kind of recently, Yeah. He was mentioning that for Mango, that character feels like, like Mango's equivalent of that would be like Sheik's, is what Zane felt like. He felt like Mango could, like, Sheik's will kind of randomly run him pretty close, but the Sheik's have kind of been not that active in online, I guess, like lately, like, Face Roll and Spark, for example. I guess Plup's kind of getting back into things.
I mean, think about Mango Plup next week, by the way.
Mango Plup next week. Yeah. What were the matchups actually? I actually don't have them off the top of my head.
I got your back, man. I can send you the link too if you'd like.
And again, just wanted to refresh people's memory here. We're about to start taking some questions. So !Radio Melee in either one of our Twitch chats, you can join the Discord, ask us your hard-hitting questions, whatever they may be about.
Absolutely. I did send you the link to that if you wanted to have that out to check it out. But
glorious.
Got your back. In the meantime, we have Wizzy SFAT. We saw that one last weekend. Mango Plup, same side of the bracket there.
Holy cannoli.
Cannoli indeed. Zane Gatsu and IBDW and Moki. That is the other side of winner's bracket.
Wow.
So yeah, I mean, there's an interesting spread of characters. I think, look, we got a couple Falcons. We got 3 Foxes. Mango's Falco, Zane's Marth. So pretty interesting spread there character-wise. People do like breaking that down. Thought I'd go ahead and go for that. And then in losers, we have Ben S2J, Polish Albert.
Okay.
Magi Ginger, and Soon Say Hungry Box.
Soon Say Hungry Box. Wow.
You're excited for that one, huh?
That was a fun one last time.
Yeah.
One of those sets that came down to a single up air smash TI. It's always funny when the whole tourney set comes down to the one mini game,
Yeah, we do love mini games in our games.
We do, actually. For better or for worse, Melee is full of them. Melee is absolutely chock full of the little mini games. Those are some hype lineups, hype matchups, especially considering that it's double elim. It's a different format than we've been watching for most of SCL.
Right, and I think some people might say, "Oh, well, the result there from Wizzy is less significant because it was an invitational and it was single elim or whatever." But I still think the significance of being able to beat Mango and then go through Zane afterward is still massive. Even if you want to put the qualifier on, it's still an insane feat for him to accomplish. I mean, just
most people are not doing that.
Yeah, I mean, even mentally, right? Like to lose to Mango, I think someone said it was like 21 sets beforehand.
Oh.
I mean, to just keep coming back is really impressive. So, yeah. I mean, absolute congrats to him. I don't know if you want to keep talking about this or if it's time to bring someone in. I am open to whatever, Toph. I'm wondering how you're feeling, man.
Let's bring our first guest on board. I think we're just about ready here. So,
let's go for it.
Let's go for it. Hello.
Hey, what's up, gamers?
What's going on? What's your name? Where are you calling in from?
Cool. My tag's Ashley. I'm calling for Alberta, Canada.
Shout out to Canada.
Shout out to Alberta.
That too.
Hell yeah. Cool. Yeah. And my question. So there's a little bit more kind of context to it, so I'll kind of go a little bit more into that.
Okay.
But essentially, what it is, and I kind of want your thoughts on it. But do you think Melee or Smash has the need for historians? So like, I know we have things like Smash Wiki and Smash boards that are kind of there, but I think context is often lost on those kind of pages.
Yeah.
I've been in the community for a while now, right? And so I've seen the eras kind of change, like, when the documentary came out, that kind of stuff. So I've seen Toph especially talking a lot about the eras in Melee and Smash and information like that. But I almost think it's really important to kind of have primary documents, written accounts and stuff like that. But I guess I want just more of your kind of general thoughts on that and whether or not there's like an important hole to fill there.
Dude, I love I love the concept of historians when it comes to esports. So again, the question real quick was, is there a general need for historians in Melee or Smash in general? And yeah, I think, dude, I think this is something I've been talking about a lot recently. We talked about this on the Scar and Toph show last week with Aiden Gaming. And it sucks because, like, dude, we don't have like all of the, most of the conversation happening in Smash right now is on Twitter or on Discord, which are very like ephemeral. Wouldn't you agree, PP? Like, there's no like
it's very segregated spaces too. It's not something like like not everyone is seeing all of that, or maybe they're on one but not another, and so maybe you get parts of it. So yeah, it's a very disconnected community as compared to when Smashboards was the place that everyone went, and then if you wanted to talk to someone more, you were on AIM, but it was mostly Smashboards. Yeah.
And then Aiden was saying, even just as a TO, it's rough because as a TO, for a long time, you advertised your tournament by making a Smashboards forum post. Then we kind of migrated to Facebook and we did Facebook events. But now, like, most gamers aren't even really on Facebook like that anymore. No one really cares about Facebook anymore. So now it's kind of like, what is there now? Now, I mean, you make your own website, I suppose, but beyond that, there isn't something that you can just easily distribute to people the way you could with Facebook events or a Smashboards link. So yeah, I think more than just history, but certainly, I mean, this is where I think it's really cool that we're getting more and more people that are doing, I mean, the most extreme example of this would be like Samox, like documentary makers.
Yeah.
But also just like, you look at like what Turn Down for Walt's doing and people like that, video essays. I think having a lot of this stuff in video format is pretty good, like stories and there was that really good video on like Apex 2015, like the story of Apex 2015. I thought that was wonderful. This seems like the question from Ashley is more to do with like written, in which case I do think it's neat. I mean, there's some books coming out, right? I guess I don't have a strong opinion on does it have to be written versus like video or something like that. But I do think that ultimately we need, what we have in Melee is we have a lot of really rich and dope history. And we should preserve it.
Yeah, I certainly agree with that. I mean, I think that's where the question comes from, right? Like, we that's one of our strongest community assets that sets us apart from a lot of other esports is we have a history that's so long. We have so many eras. Some people go across eras. Some people are in one. Some people, all kinds of things will happen. And I think there's something that video does that written word doesn't, and that is kind of that connects with more of you. You get to really see the people, see how they really feel. And you get to show exactly when, like, if someone's talking about something, you put an image there so they don't have to imagine it. You see it more exactly as it was, that type of thing. And that can be really powerful for people because they might skew one way or another way. And you, as the person telling the story, can put it a certain way. And that can be really powerful. As for written word, I think like you can often go into more detail. You can spend time going off on these minute stories or whatever, because you're not necessarily as worried about keeping an audience. If you have a person that's willing to read, especially in this day and age, they're probably going to follow along wherever you go and find out more stories and find out, different things than you would with video. And I'm not saying that makes it better. I'm just saying that makes it different. So video, you can get more visceral things that might even stick with you in a different way. But with written word, you might be able to go a little farther. So I do think there's immense value in that. Of course, maybe it's a little bias coming through for me. I love reading, but that is just kind of my own experience with these things as well. Now, something that Toph did not mention that I'd like to highlight is that Melee Stats does a ton of talk about the history series. They'll do columns on iconic tournament runs. They'll do columns on player era comparisons, and that stuff's interesting and neat. And it's important. It's important work. Is it the only work I feel that they can be doing? Maybe not, but it's also like, and this is, I think, kind of the bottleneck for a lot of Melee historian work. Like, wouldn't it be best, right? Like, wouldn't it be the best thing if we had high profile, Melee journalists or historians that right when something was happening, like they were getting a perspective from this person, then maybe they compare it to later or whatever, right? And you'd see how it really shook out, because if we're always looking in the rearview mirror, it's going to look a little different, you know? So
Yeah.
I'd love for someone or some people, even ideally like a group of people, right, to be able to do that. The problem, of course, is money. Melee might have an asset in long history. It has the exact opposite thing, where how are we going to record all that? You know, like who's willing to do all that, you know, for free, or for people giving them a couple $100s on Patreon? Like, it's tough. And so I think I would agree with you, Ashley. I think Melee historians are absolutely needed and only become more valuable by the day, as more people exist, as the scene splits off into smaller and smaller pieces in a way. I think it just becomes more valuable. But that not only makes the work of people trying to get that information harder, but then, you know, so it's more time consuming, and then, you know, like how do we support them? And I think that's the question for so many things that are valuable, not just history, like art and other things like that, which are also very valuable for Melee. So I completely agree with you. Yeah, I'm always trying. Ever since I've talked to a few artists, I'm always trying to take up the cause for that a little bit more. And I just want to support the content creators of the scene, because, you know, I think Melee has so much to give. I mean, including the game, but there's so much around it that's wonderful. Like,
there's so much around it.
There's so many great people. So yeah, so the historian's question is absolutely wonderful, and I'm really glad that you asked it, and I would love to see more of that. And I'm glad to know Toph mentioned that there are books coming out. So hopefully that can, along with the documentaries and Walt and other people that cover the history and Melee stats, hopefully more can come out from them. So hopefully we can kind of just get more of that and talk to people that are there from a few eras, like Chillin, or some people that are older school that maybe watch the scene a little tangentially now. I think Kish Prime is one of those types of people. So I think, you know, I think getting the access to that sooner than later would be great, so that those windows don't close on us. So I absolutely agree with you, Ashley. Very important.
Cool. Yeah.
Thanks for calling in, Ashley. And if you got any shout outs, by the way, feel free to drop those.
Oh yeah, I'm absolutely going to shout out my crew that I've had since like 2014, WPI for life, ride or die. And that's all I got. Thanks for answering my question, guys.
You're very welcome. Have a good day.
Have a good day. Love to hear from Alberta. It's like the first place I ever went to an out-of-state tournament.
Oh, that's
was
cool.
In Alberta back in 2008 or 9. I think it was 8. Long time ago.
Also a tough year for Melee.
15 hours. What's that?
Also a tough year for Melee. So that's cool. You made the journey that year. That's 2008.
Tough year for Melee. Yeah,
absolutely. That was the brawl year. Yeah. That was
the brawl year. That was
the toughest one. Yeah.
That was the toughest one for sure. 8-man locals and things like that. All right. I think we're about ready to get our next caller on board. What is up? Hello.
This is Ninja Boy calling in from New York City.
Hey, what's up, Ninja Boy? Good to finally talk to you. Ninja
I know.
Stream Monster, PP.
Cool. Shout outs to the Stream Monsters. They keep it going, man.
They do.
Yeah, shout out up front to Toph's Weeb Wednesdays and Taku Thursdays. If you love anime, make sure you have fun. But yeah, so actually, before I get to my question, I gotta follow up to Ashley's question from actually recently. I would say one thought I came listening was that actually historians, I think one of Melee's strongest selling points is its longest history.
Oh, yeah.
Right.
In terms of marketing to a new audience and growing the scene, I think, you know, getting strong history in there is something that's going to continue to grow the scene. Anyway, so my question is more current events and a little bit future based as opposed to looking at the past. So beyond the Smash Summit just announced the Summit 11 roster. Yep. So it's going to be 6 Summit champion, 6 SCL qualifiers, one same qualifier, one Rona Rumble qualifier, and then the invites of Leffen and Amsa, and then 6 Voden. So just wanted to get your guys' thoughts, any hot takes on who's going to make it from SCL, from Rona Rumble, thoughts on seeing Leffen and Amsa at again, anyone you think might be a dark horse, anyone you might throw your support behind early on for Vodens. Just wanted to get you guys' thoughts on all that.
So I pulled up the bracket. I've got it open. I mean, we discussed it earlier. And again, the question is just, you know, what do we think about the list of invites for Summit 11? Who do we think might make it in from SCL or from the last chance qualifiers? I'll say right off the bat, I think Leffen and Amsa being invited are super dope. Amsa's been grinding his ass off. I've been, playing him.
How's
pretty
Amsa been
often.
doing? I would imagine that Amsa was
Good.
so I didn't know, because he didn't play for like quite a while. I don't know if it was like several months or not so much.
Yeah.
So I didn't know, if he still feels like, he's still improving to get back to kind of where he was before all that,
Yeah,
or how does that feel to you?
Yeah, so one of our first sessions, he definitely felt a little bit rusty, and then the next time I played him about a week later, he was a lot better, and he even said to me at one point, like, "Yeah, I think I'm better than I was in 2019." So I think he
Okay.
already thinks that he's
Good.
at least off of his own analysis of his own play, he thinks he's better than he was at the last offline tournament he was at. So that's good. I
exciting.
mean, I think
That's exciting.
he's bringing some new stuff to the table. He's got some kind of interesting stuff with like using Yoshi's neutral B as a kind of mix up where he puts you in the egg. He's got some, he's been practicing his kind of like tech chase follow-ups and things like that.
Okay.
So his punish game has been getting really good. He's got some crazy edge guards that you wouldn't really think are possible for Yoshi, because like you think that double jump cancel character can't possibly, but he'll trade with your Firefox from below, and then so he's got a bunch of technology he's been working on that is pretty cool. And I definitely think he can be a bit of a dark horse. Don't know how ready people are never quite ready enough for the Yoshi matchup, so there is that. But so yeah, he's looking good. Really happy for Leffen. You can kind of tell Leffen is just, he's been starving for competition for the last God knows how long. Really happy for him. Good. It'd be good to see him back. There is a little bit of a tacit assumption that because the names Leffen and Amsa are on there, that this might be an offline tournament.
Right.
I don't think anything is fully announced yet, but I'm very excited for that as someone who's vaccinated. And I mean, I think everyone's just really excited for that. I'm super looking forward to this weekend. As far as who I think is going to make it in, man, the only thing I'm going to say, I'll let you handle the SCL side of things. I do have the bracket pulled up, but I think Nun's going to make it in through the last shots qualifiers. I know Nun's had a bit of a tough time of it. SCL season 2, obviously some ups and downs.
Yeah.
And he got bounced out of Division 2. He got relegated out of Division 2 last week, but Nun always does incredibly well in the open brackets. I don't know if you watched the open bracket. He tore the last open bracket to qualify up. So I think if there's Rona Rumble qualifier for Summit, I think he's just such a favorite for that. I'm not really worried about seeing him in the event.
That's fair. I'd say that's definitely a great point. Because I mean, you look at this bracket, you don't see Nun, you're like, oh, he's not going. I don't, just because of the nature of this, it's not. It's kind of like, who did well in the event last week, and then what does that do for them? And Nun played one set, and that was all he got to do. But he played great in the open bracket beforehand. Right. So I agree with you on that. He can definitely make it there.
There's also 6 vote-ins, by the way. Right? There's 6 vote-ins. So.
6 vote-ins. Now, I don't know. We normally have one very fun vote-in. I don't know who that would be. I never know who that would be. But,
what if it's just you? What if everyone just votes you in?
No, they wouldn't do that. No, that'd be weird. They wouldn't do that.
Weird.
Yeah,
weird.
Yeah, but I'm not sure who else they might want to vote in. I mean, I imagine many of the players that would be in this event, if they don't make it. Oh, I thought someone said something, but yeah, anyone in the event that doesn't make it, I think S2J, if he doesn't make it, I mean, right, he does. I think he only has to tweet a few times and then he gets in. I think that's usually how his strategy. So I think
he does some streams.
Okay, well, I just thought it was a bit less. He doesn't do any rapping, so I have to forgive me for that.
Doesn't do any rapping, unfortunately. I'd love to hear some.
Yeah, for sure.
You know what I'm realizing though, looking at this, how do you say? The way they're structuring the invitees and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Usually for Summit, they auto invite more people. You know what I mean? There's no one auto invited except for Amsa and Leffen. That's the thing that's kind of standing out to me now that I'm realizing. If normally the top 5 or 6 players kind of just get auto invited. Summit just invites them.
Yeah.
This time around, if Zane or Mango somehow busters out, if Zane loses to Gatsu and somehow gets upset by somebody in losers, or if Mango loses to Plup and then somehow loses to somebody in losers, they could totally just not get invited, and they would actually have to fight either via the open bracket or via vote-in, which is kind of wild. Like there might be at least one person that everybody expects to be in it that somehow doesn't make it in.
Yeah.
Or at least has to campaign. I hope they at least campaign because I think that like, you know, okay, I think if either Mango and Zayn campaign, I don't think they'd have to work very hard to get in. Like I think they would pretty quickly like rack up the necessary votes. But
yeah,
that is interesting. That is really interesting. Just the fact.
Yeah, I was just gonna say there's so many people that we're just so used to seeing being in these brackets. I mean, some of the names change, but mostly we're seeing these people and they're like, okay, well, maybe they qualified or maybe they just won one, lost one the week before, and that's about it. And, you know, now, right, like things, you know, are not going to make it. And so what's going to happen with, you know, some of these people? I think Polish had a crazy run. Polish need another insane run in order to make it this time. But if Polish doesn't, then it's like, well, you used your juice too early, man.
So, okay, how does this work? Let's actually break this down. I'm looking at the winners bracket. If you win your first round of winners, then you're in winners semis of the event, which means you're getting 5th, which means you're in. So if Mango beats Plup, Mango's in. If Wizzrobe beats SFAT, Wizzrobe's in. That's how that works, right?
Mm-hmm.
You just need to win. If you're in winners, you just need to win one round and you're guaranteed to be in.
Right.
Okay.
And so certainly I think one of the matchups that's most interesting to watch for that is Mango Plup.
Mango Plup, yeah, because whoever wins that is going to be breathing a deep sigh of relief, and whoever's losing, I don't know where in the bracket they fall to. I saw Mango tweet something to the effect of like, there's some sporting events going on that weekend, and I'd love to just go to those instead of having to worry about losing to Plup and then somehow maybe HBox. So that makes it sound like if Mango loses, he plays like the winner of Sunsei and HBox or something. I don't know if that's actually true.
I did not follow that through very well, so I am not very sure.
I'm looking at the Liquipedia page, not anything from, you know.
Right. So yeah, I mean, it's a little hard to say. And then, you know, once you start projecting beyond that, it starts getting really weird because things can just surprise you in Melee sometimes anyway. But yeah, I mean, Mango Plup, this hasn't happened. I just feel like this is going to be such an interesting one. Plup really starting to rise up,
good again, yeah.
Yeah, and I mean, he's doing a lot for. I mean, this is this is kind of like a Sheik narrative too, where like Sheik just Ben's been doing a lot, and then there was J-Mook, and now Plup really coming in strong. And so I think, what does this say for Sheik? And at this time of all times, and Plup didn't let himself get invited. He qualified, and so is very clear that he was meant to be there. And so I think that's all very cool. And so I think this is a test for Plup. You know, does he still have it? I think it's a test for Mango. Yeah, and so I think
Mango for sure. Sheik has been. I mean, Zayn even said he feels like Mango. If Mango has like a kind of a character that he could just kind of lose to, it's like Sheik. The way that Zayn could like kind of just lose to a Falcon if he's playing off his game. Mango, I don't know. I hope he comes correct. I hope he prepares. I mean, I saw what Plup did to Ginger, and it was not pretty for the Falco. So
yeah. I mean, we might even see Mango's Fox, which we haven't seen in a while too.
I kind of want to. I hope we get to.
Maybe
I've always really liked Mango's Fox versus
Mango's Fox is neat.
I've always thought that versus Sheik, like it just feels. It's always kind of felt like a no-brainer to me, but I understand he just kind of wants to play Falco more than he wants to play Fox. So it is what it is. But
yeah, and so again, I think that's just such an important set to watch, and
the set. That's the set. Yeah,
and then what's Leffen gonna do? I just kind of want to take another moment because I know we've spent a while on this, but I think this is such a big question. I mean, I think Leffen, right? Like, I mean, he was always, getting the upper results, and now he's got something that he feels is good for Zayn, and so I'm curious to see what that looks like because we haven't seen that. We haven't seen that in person. We haven't seen that in tournament even. I think the last exhibition they played, I believe Leffen won that. Am I correct?
That sounds right to me.
Okay, so he's at least got a very, very real shot at it. And so again, this adds to Zayn's workload and preparation for the event, which I think is important to keep in mind as well. But yeah, I mean, very interesting stuff. I think Leffen is someone absolutely to be watching. What's that going to do? Where's he going to be seated? How's it all going to shake out? I mean, I'm very curious about a lot of it. I don't know if I have too much else to say about vote-ins or anything like that. I kind of just like watching the chaos of the thing itself. All right, how many diss tracks this time? You know,
Yeah,
who's eating what? You know, I never know.
It does feel awesome to get back to Summit season. It just feels like, yeah, it just feels, like all is right in the world again. This is like what this is. It's just my favorite time of the year. I love, thinking about the event. I mean, you've been to some Smash Summits. You just,
Yeah.
I'm sure you remember, like,
Yeah.
remember the first time we went, it was just like, wow, this is crazy. This is nothing like I've ever experienced before.
It is very unusual.
It's been so long at this point since we've had an offline tournament. I'm just excited in general. So I don't
Yeah.
know if that really answers the question. I think we provided some takes, but I mean, I think we just got to wait and see, man. We got to see what happens. Anything can happen.
Yeah, for sure. I will say that the same qualifier, I think, being a European event means that we're going to have 2 Europeans at the event.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'd like to see if if Triff makes it, if someone else makes it, like what that's like too. Because I mean, Triff, I think with a lot of these peaches coming up now, it'd be interesting to see how does Triff compare. I mean, they're just as one possibility. But there are other ones.
I'm trying to see my man solo battle in there.
Sure. Yeah.
I want
Absolutely.
him to shield drop, up air, whatever, rest, edge cancel some people.
For sure.
I don't know.
So I think because Europe's been grinding in this time, so it's cool to see
Yeah.
because I think there's just been so much separation of scenes. It'd be very cool. It's going to kind of like we're going to kind of see at least a snapshot of what it's like to bring everyone together again. And yeah, I'm certainly curious about it. I think it's going to be a lot of fun. So I think it's a great question to bring up. I think it gets people really thinking about these possibilities here, and I love it. Is there anything else you want to kind of ask about here, Ninja Boy?
No, it's all good. I'll probably save another question about anime for another episode. But yeah, thanks for having me on, guys.
That's fair. Have a good rest of your day. And any shout outs? Or did you already do yours at the beginning?
I just shout out Wee Wednesday, Taku Thursdays, the best Weeby Wednesdays on Twitch.
On my channel, that's right. Thank you, Ninja Boy. Appreciate that. Ninja Boy did help name Taku Thursdays.
All right, see you, Ninja Boy.
Came in clutch for me there because I needed a better name than A-Truck does marketing Monday, but if it rolls over to Tuesday, he calls it targeting Tuesday because you need the alliteration. Yeah. And I wanted to do a little bit better than that, so
yeah, he really kept the bar high for you. I'm glad you were able to clear that one.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, who's our next? I think we're about to get our next guest on. Hello. What's your name and where are you calling in from?
Hello, I'm Mike from the Netherlands. It's a little late over here.
Oh yeah. Well, I'm hopefully we'll be able to answer your question, make it worth staying up so late, Mike.
Yeah, absolutely. So based on the results of the SEL last weekend, to what extent do you think that there's more room for the Mangoes or the Heart players as Melee progresses? Because I feel like the game is slowly going to shift away from the absurd tech skill and favor players like Wizzy and Zane, who really put an emphasis on neutral and labbing instead of being very flashy.
Okay, so let me ask you this. How do you explain a player like Nuns Rise?
If I'm completely honest, I don't watch that much Nun, but I think that like players like Nun and Mango are kind of like freak of natures where their decision making is so in line with their heart that whatever it is that they're doing, it also looks optimal and very intelligent. But I can't speak for Nun though, but that's how it feels with Mango at the very least.
Well, I gotta say, man, it almost feels like you answered your own question there. I mean, Nun, we had him on the episode podcast, and he was saying, well, I think we got to stop being so stubborn as whatever type of player we are and start learning from other people. And so what did he do? He started learning more from Wizzy, who's, not so similar to him in a lot of aspects. And he took what he liked. He left what he didn't. And he found it really valuable in his growth. And I think he started he was getting good and then he started doing that. And I think that really kind of kept him at that uppermost level. And so I go ahead, Toph.
No, I was just gonna say, yeah, I do think there's this interesting dichotomy. This is kind of a cool question because I think that it often seems that way. I think it often, and obviously, it feels pertinent this weekend because Wizzy won the event, and I think it's just kind of fresh on a lot of people's minds. Wizzy just performed really well, and Wizzy is definitely one of the players that kind of exemplifies that sort of play style. And I think that people do kind of hone in on it because that style of play, because it's like. It's not easy to emulate. It's difficult. Obviously, it requires a ton of practice, but at least it's easy to kind of tell what's going on. It's easy to say, well, look, he's got his flowchart punished. He does. He's very consistent at it. He tends to do these sorts of things at these sorts of ranges. It's easy to talk about. And I think because it's easy to talk about, I think people tend to point to it and say, like, this is kind of how you should be playing. And this is how you're supposed to get better and things like that. But I think there are a lot of things that Nun and Mango do that also make a lot of sense. And, you know, they I think can sometimes feel a little bit more difficult to describe because maybe there's a little more, I don't know how to call it, like interplay with what the read on the opponent is and things like that. But I mean, I think that there will always be room for that in Super Smash Brothers Melee. There are plenty of players, I think, in the top 10, even outside of Mango and Nun. You know, you look at a guy like Moki, who's kind of on that cusp. You look at people like Ginger, who say that he wants to draw more inspiration from Mango, right? And he wants to pull more of that kind of read based aggressive play style, or however you want to categorize it. So yeah, I think that people do tend to like kind of focus on, because it's easy to say, look at this thing Wizzy's doing. Okay, you do that. It's easy to say that. Hey, you need to be tech chasing better. Watch Wizzy VODs for an example. Hey, do this edge guard flowchart. Watch the, but I think that there will always be room in a game like Melee for the Mangoes of the world, if you want to put it.
Yeah, that makes sense.
I think, you know, I think it's rare because, how should I say this? I think it's rare because, you know, what is a quicker path? What's a quicker path to getting there? Is it to like, I'm going to do this thing over and over, or is it, let me look at all of these possibilities and try all these things and do all this experimentation and so on and so on. And I'm not belittling anyone's path or saying one path is better than another. I'm simply saying that, you know, because like once it starts gaining momentum, a path like that can give different rewards. So I'm not trying to say one's better than the other or one's worse than the other. I'm simply saying that if, you know, I think Zane was talking about how Nun spent so much time in unranked and just messing around constantly. That let him innovate a whole lot more, for example, right? Or Mango's as a player that when you see him on a stream, he's always trying out something. And maybe he doesn't point out the moments where things don't work or they don't quite work the way he wanted them to, but he remembers that. And then when it's something like that, again, he's going to do something a little different. And it's not to say that like someone like Wizzy doesn't think about that, but he'll say, oh, well, I'll just do this one or two things instead of this like few different things or this different archetype of things. And so there's an adaptation and solution making decision making process that still goes on for everyone, but the way it happens is different. And the reason I think it's more rare is just because I think, well, I mean, there are a lot of possibilities, right? Like maybe if you're someone that is a fan of Mango, and maybe you're like, well, you know, Mango talks about how like, you know, I'm just naturally gifted. So it's like, well, if I play, I don't want to practice. So I don't feel naturally, I won't feel gifted then. I want to be like Mango. And maybe there's like a conflict for someone like that, just as a hypothetical. And so like maybe this like cuts people off early on. And I don't say that it's in a vacuum. Like think of how the community culture prevents characters like Peach or Jigglypuff from being as common, for example, or taking longer to get somewhere or making more people quit, for example. So I think the culture can have an effect on this sort of thing. And I think Melee's culture is more open to players like Mango and Nun, but I think the reason we don't see them as much is partly because so many people talk about improvement in terms of like, do this, then this, because it's just more straightforward, like Toph was saying. But I also think it's just hard. It's just hard to do it that way. It's hard. And then just in general, like, to be someone that's thinking about all that stuff or just to think of the game in that way, I think it's a different kind of person just in general. So I don't know if it's a Melee problem or just like a people thing that just happened to play Melee. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I get where you're coming from.
Yeah. So does that make sense? Do you have any further questions or comments about that?
Yeah, so I want to do a short follow-up because I don't want to take up too much time.
Sure.
So because for Wizzy, at least at the SCL, it was a monumental victory over Mango because I think it was the first time that he took a win over Mango.
Right.
And so ignoring the Falco matchup, do you think that players like Falco can get into Wizzy's head when Mango's doing stuff that makes no sense at all?
What exactly do you mean? I'm not sure I fully get that.
With no sense at all, I mean like it's outside of like the flow chart, so like the optimals and all that. That Mango just does stuff that he thinks will work in that moment.
I am
Sure.
PP. I am curious what you think about this in particular, because I remember you used to prepare heavily for Mango in this sense, right? Like I've talked to Cactuar about kind of the era where you were preparing a lot for Mango.
Yeah.
It seemed like a really interesting time. Honestly, I wish I had more insight into your preparation there.
Yeah, so Mango was strange because And this is something I've actually talked to Kadoran a little bit about. Shout outs to him.
Mhm.
He's getting freaked out by Mango now.
He's
And
getting freaked out.
yeah, he's going through kind of what I went through. It's kind of fun to watch that again, right? Because he'll be like, I get him in this position that every other Falco in the world is like afraid of, and Mango just jumps at me, or he does like this crazy long wave dash and he hits me, and I'm like, well, no one does that, and I'm like, yeah, I remember when I was there. And so what does that mean, right? Like I think Mango really understands a lot of so I think he understands a lot of meta options like, oh, this is stuff that's good. This is why it's good. And then he just says, okay, well, what if I just did something like that just no one else is doing here? And he likes doing stuff like that. That's an example of it. You get him cornered and he's like, oh, well, I'm not going to be scared. And also it's like he just would rather probably just as a person not like want to say, well, I'm not going to back down. What do you have me cornered? You think I care? I didn't hear a bell. You know how Mango is. So he's like, yeah, it fits in line with like a good way to approach the game and also kind of a unique Mango personal perspective there. And so I think what happens is like Wizzy has to learn how to play against Mango against like these specific things. At the same time, I think there's a real challenge in thinking like Mango is not Falco, where it's just like some other mystical, otherworldly thing. And you have to be very grounded in your approach to it and say, this is someone that's doing very strange things at times, but there's a reason why it's working. There's a reason it's good. Even if I don't understand it, I need to at least figure out what's going on here. And people often say that like, you know, Mango's unreadable and all that stuff, but you know, Drug Fox just did a series where he talked about like some of the Mango's most common habits. And so, I mean, every player has habits. Mango has habits. And part of the reason they're habits is because they work. I mean, that's something he said in the video. But so a lot of Mango's habits are anti-meta. And part of the thing that makes Mango's habits good is he knows how to mix them up at the layers he needs to, and different ways than other players do as well. So Wizzy has to integrate all this stuff while playing a really hard matchup, while playing someone that has a lot of experience, while playing someone that's going to like adapt in ways that are probably unusual to him. And so that's a lot to overcome. And so the fact that he overcame it is really, really impressive. And for these layers, and certainly I'm sure other things. So yeah, I mean, that's kind of why it's also why it's hard to be a player like Mango, because you're just solving things in really unconventional ways. Like I said, Mango's picking a lot of anti-meta stuff, but you know, it's not that he's picking bad things necessarily. I mean, sometimes,
right?
But
I would say that, you know, the one thing to kind of reassess is, you know, you worded it, Mike, as like things that don't make sense, and I would say that that's where the disconnect probably lies. Is that I would not categorize the things Mango's doing as things that don't make sense. I would say they do make sense. They're just kind of counter meta, or like PP said, a little bit off the wall. But I think they do make sense, especially once you really break them down. And yeah. And like you said, PP, I mean, at the end of the day, it's still Falco, right? It's still just because Mango does a weird option doesn't mean, I mean, that's still something Falco could do. Like Falco did it, right? If Mango's Falco does it, that's still Falco doing a thing. And if you don't have an answer for that thing that Mango did with Falco, that meant you didn't understand the character or the matchup as well as you thought you did. So
right, what a good point about that too, right? Mango encourages us to think about the total possibilities of what someone or something can do, and I think that's really healthy for the game as well.
What do you think about that, Mike?
Yeah, awesome. I want to clarify one last thing is that when I said the don't make sense thing, I did imply from a person who's very into like the flowchart mindset or like optimal playstyle. So it's not that it doesn't actually make sense.
I've been there.
I see. It's the
I've been there. Yeah, I know. Why is he doing that every time? It doesn't make any sense. And he still it would work every time. But I'd be like, why is he doing it? I don't get it. Yeah, I understand that. It's it is, some players are easier and harder to evaluate, and just because someone's easier to evaluate does not make them necessarily easier to play against in a certain way. Watching and playing can be different things.
Yeah. Yeah, I think you just got to take a player. You got a player that's wonky like that. You got to take them and look at what they're doing and integrate what you don't understand and integrate it into your understanding of the game until you are sort of able to categorize those things. And again, I think that Drug Fox did a really good job of that in his video. Yeah. Drug Fox has a really awesome video on his YouTube where he's talking about Mango's good habits.
Yes.
With the idea that, you know, most people talk about habits like they're bad habits. This guy's a bad habit. He rolls in too much. He spot dodges in the bad spot. But Mango's got some good habits that are really interesting. And yeah, great video. Thank you for shouting that out, PP.
Yeah, of course.
Speaking of shout outs, do you have any shout outs or anything you want to say, Mike? Just plugs.
Yeah, absolutely. Shout out to Toph for putting Doc in the goated AF tier in one of his recent videos. Avid Doc fan. I'm gonna do some shout outs for my homies, Radical 3i and Pure Skills from the Netherlands. And yeah, we're a pretty small scene, but you know, we have Yappy, one of the better Dutch players that probably a lot of people know. And
Yeah,
I'd like to keep it there.
Love Yappy. I hung out with him for a little bit at one of the Dream Hacks a while back in Jönköping, Sweden. I don't think I pronounced that very well, but maybe I did. I'm not sure.
Close, I'm sure.
Have a great one. Have a great one, Mike. Good to have you on the call.
Yep. Good luck with the stream.
Thank you.
Look,
the Europeans are all in bed now that Mike left. No one will call you out on Toph.
Final frontier. He was the final frontier. The last awake European.
For sure.
I wonder what time it is over there. It must be really late.
It's like almost 1 a.m. over there, I believe.
Oh, that's not so late. Maybe some of them are.
Dude, you're such a Melee player, bro.
I think we're about ready to bring on our next caller, by the way. What's up? What's up? Hello. What's your name and where are you calling in from?
Hey, my name's Ahmad. I'm calling in from NorCal.
What's up?
Hey, what's up, Ahmad?
Man, how you been?
Pretty good. How you been?
All right, you know, just school, work, COVID, living life.
That's how it goes, dude. Been a long time.
Yeah, I'm glad to see you're doing well. I'm glad your stream's doing well too. I've been following you for a little bit now. I'm happy to see your numbers are up and stuff.
Thank you.
Let's go, Toph.
How you been? And what's your question? I should say. I guess I already got how you've been.
Sure. I just wanted to ask. So given the popularity and the ease of access of competitive Melee through the advent of Slippy, what do you think the state of the tournament scene is going to be once COVID is hopefully contained well enough that LAN tournaments start to become the norm once again? Do you think that online tournaments are still going to be as common and as prevalent? Do you think that the standings and the results from those tournaments should be worth the same as compared to LAN results? Just because, like, I know that Axe doesn't really like online tournaments, and the other day on stream, Mango was like, you know, I'm kind of over online tournaments, et cetera, et cetera. Like, I don't want there to be like cleavages between the community of like, you know, like online people versus like LAN people and whatnot. But what do you think things are going to be like going forward?
It's a good question. So it sounds like you know, it's basically, what is the tournament scene going to look like, or what do we predict at least the tournament scene is going to look like once COVID is more or less over? And are we gonna? I mean, I think even within offline online, I think there's a couple different ways to look at it, because I think there's going to be like locals, and then there's going to be like, you know, regionals and majors. And I think even what those look like, you know, there might be some variance, you know, with regard to. I was thinking about this, like when it comes to locals, like weeklies and monthlies, like I could see people still running a lot of like weekly online events. Like, for example, you know, you look at like a Rollback Rumble or like a TMT or something, where it's just kind of nice that, like, TMT is cool because it's got the ladder format. You can get a ton of sets in. Just feels like really good practice. And I could see that continuing just for the people that want to just get a nice grind in on a Monday or a Tuesday. I could see monthlies getting honestly a lot bigger. I think there's a lot of people that are kind of starving for, you know, some offline competition and just honestly just social interaction. And I could see a spike in kind of monthly. I think it is going to depend region to region. I don't think online tournaments are going to go away, though. I think that the convenience and like the ability to just get some really good practice just on a random weeknight without having to go anywhere is just really nice for a lot of people, right? I don't know. What do you think, PP?
Yeah, I mean, no, I mean, I mean, a lot of fair points coming out for sure, Toph. And I will say, neither of us are TOs. It's probably a question that they will have their own perspective on. Of course, players and people in the community will have their own, but I don't think anyone's going to, I think TOs are preparing for that. I think that's a discussion for them. Maybe TOs are thinking of a way to integrate the two. There's a system that's online that gives you a certain amount of points, and then that translates into offline somehow. I don't know. Maybe it translates into some invitational. Who knows? I don't know. Like, they could do that. A lot of interesting possibilities there. It's up to the TOs to make use of it. How does the grassroots friend from Golden Guardians interact with all of these things? That's a possibility there too, right? Maybe. So I don't know. It's very interesting, and so I think there are probably things that can develop in that space, and I think it's a great question for that. But yeah, I do feel LAN is going to be like, I still think the golden standard indicator of results and things like that. But that doesn't mean that online results will be entirely discounted. I mean, I think especially if you're getting like sets between players and the ping is lower and they feel like they're able to play about the same. I think like I don't think there's an issue with that. And a lot of players that can have that circumstance happen for them. But that's not necessarily the case for everyone, right? Some people can't afford, or like because they don't have a car or just whatever, right? They can't afford to go to IRL events, and so maybe they level up more, and maybe maybe part of a grassroots fund gets to help someone come to an event or something. Like there's a lot of possibilities, right? And let's not forget that there were people that were making posts on Reddit or in other places saying like, my scene, I never had anyone and I was just practicing tech alone. Rollback finally allowed me to play other people with a connection that's not so bad. Lets me apply the stuff I'm working on. So for those people, like it might not change things too much, or it might take a while for things to change for them. And so I think, to discount their experience and what Rollback does for the community overall, like how much it can expand Melee, around the world, I think is unreasonable at the same time. So what else did I have written down here? I mean, yeah, I think when we're going back to LAN, we're going to have more crossover between scenes, right? Like we were talking about Amsa and Leffen and Summit, right? Like we just haven't seen them interact with the scenes much because big body of water make thing hard. So, I think LAN, despite how much people can kind of grow in certain ways, I think LAN is going to be still the way that brings people together more often. And I think like for the social aspect of Melee too, that we're often still very proud of, I think that's still really important for us. And I also think like streamers want content, so they're still going to enter online tournaments. Plenty of streamers do that. None was starting to enter a lot more stuff lately, but I mean, certainly a lot of other players do it. Hungrybox is always in a tournament. Check him out for that. Let's see. Locals can still be kind of similar. I think Toph was talking about that too. Let's see. And online can still be like, online will still be training for some people. Like maybe some people use online to prepare for certain matchups and then they fully apply it in LAN or whatever. But how does that all shake out for rankings? That might be a question. I mean, that's a hard question, right? And that's the reason we don't have an algorithm for ranking things. It's part of something Melee Stats talks about. Why don't we just have an algorithm? And they have a panel and they'll say, well, maybe this result in this tournament would be like kind of equivalent because maybe the ping was fine and everything like that.
You need a formula that mathematically includes the ping.
Yeah, right. And if the ping spikes in one set, how does the formula do, right?
Yeah, there's constant. Maybe if the ping is below a certain amount, it just counts this. I mean,
Yeah.
I watched Wizzy versus Mango and Wizzy versus Zane this weekend, and I felt like I was watching great Melee. Online notwithstanding, it was like awesome, right? I think that everyone watching was like, this is dope. It's it was a lot of fun. It was a lot of fun, and it felt like pretty high level play. Some mistakes here and there notwithstanding, it felt like pretty high level play.
Yeah.
It doesn't feel fair to write it off entirely.
Yeah.
Fair to say, Wizzy didn't actually accomplish something great this weekend. So yeah, I think that there's still definitely going to be a place for it. I think it might even, I think it's going to depend even from region to region. But it's almost impossible to predict. The one thing I will say is that I think that, I think majors are going to blow up. I think that, I actually think at least, the first major back is probably going to be colossal. And I think that there's going to be at least probably for a while, I think there'll be a surge of attendance because I think everybody wants to get out a little bit more. I think
it's so important, Toph. I really love that you brought that up. I didn't think about it. And so many people that might be watching this, you might have started playing online. Please go to at least go to a major, even if you don't enter. Like the energy there is crazy. It's there's nothing like it. Seeing Melee live as opposed to watching it online. Like watching it online is beautiful, and I'm not discounting that Melee is wonderful. But if you get the chance, please, especially if something comes up closer to you. So that's why, different regions are all going to have like resurgences in different places. But yeah, please check it out. It's a lot of fun. And I think people getting to experience that for the first time, however they've gotten into the game, and certainly a lot of them will be only playing online in the past like year or whatever. So yeah, please come check it out. It's so much fun, and it's a completely different experience, and you get to really come up and meet a lot of the people that you didn't get to meet before. I guess this is not fully answering the question, so apologies, but like Mango, we'll talk to a lot of people and sign stuff, and and so will Leffen occasionally. So I mean, you know, there's a lot of people that'll do that, and they're very accessible, and you really get to like, you know, connect with the people more. You get to feel more of the openness that still is there for Melee. So, you know, really would encourage people to come check that out when it's possible. And yeah, so I love that I love that this question is here because, you know, we get to, you know, say what do TOs think? We get to say, yeah, online has its place, and its place will be different for different people at different times in different regions. And I also love just to say that, you know, we're going to have our online stuff back, or our offline stuff back. And I think it's going to be a lot of fun.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Does that answer your question? Okay, Ahmad, is there anything else you wanted to ask about that?
Yeah, beautiful answer. I know it's kind of a big question, not really easy to tackle concisely and whatnot, but you both did great. I guess the only follow-up I have, and I'll try to keep it quick because I don't want to hog the time or anything, is just that I think that now that Slippy is here, and I think it's going to be here to stay, like the genie is out of the bottle. It's not going back in, right? I think we need to lean into the pitch, and I think we need to utilize it as best we can to help and grow the community, because like I used to be the biggest net play hater. If you asked anybody, I would just scoff at it. It would be, you know, CRT elitist. But Brandon convinced me, like the day that rollback was released, he's like, dude, just try it. I tried it, and then within 45 seconds of playing, I was hooked. I was like, oh my god, this is incredible.
Yeah.
So big shout outs to Wizzy and for the rest of his you know, support staff and team that are helping him. Like, this is amazing. And I definitely think that we're in a relatively unique situation, because I can't think of any other fighting games that have a rollback quite as good as this. Like Skullgirls has it, courtesy of Mike Z and his tireless efforts, and the new Guilty Gear Strive has it, where I think people were saying they were going from like Texas to Okinawa on 2 frames of delay, which is insane, right?
That is insane.
Yeah, but like not too many other fighting games have that, right? And like you look at all the Capcom fighters, they've historically had terrible netcodes and whatnot. So I think we should definitely use this to our advantage and not resist being like old Smash boomers that don't want to, like, you know, play into the change.
I mean, even if your stance is it's not as good as offline. I mean, just noting the power of what it's done for the scene, how it's kept us through this time, how it brings so many people in and makes it, and in some ways really lower the barrier to entry. I think it's something to absolutely be applauded for. Again, that is at you know, worst feelings about it, but I think, you know, it does a lot, like you're saying.
Definitely, and thank you guys for your time. I appreciate taking a stab at the question, and awesome show. Appreciate you guys, and just wanted to give a quick shout out to, you know, my boy Brandon, my boy Phil, Nick, Brian, all the rest of the ride or die homies from day one, and shout outs to all of 510. And yeah, thank you guys.
Thank you.
Absolutely. Cool to get a mod on. Yeah, that's a longtime member of the NorCal Melee community.
Dope.
Yeah, I'm excited. I mean, dude, it's crazy to think about. The tournaments are right around the corner. But really hoping that there's a lot of people who are, if there's anybody that's on the fence about, you know, coming out to something. I definitely think at least like majors, man. I think the first, you know, Big House back, Genesis back, I think those are going to be colossal.
Yeah. I mean, locals too, right? Like you just get so much more time you get to connect with the local scene. You get to build friendships in the area. People will cheer for you and all that stuff. And you know, you'll make friends and you'll get to learn from them and everything. People will be like, well, I don't know where to go to learn. I mean, now I can just tell you, go back to locals. I mean, there's a lot for people there. So it's going to be great, man. I'm looking forward to it.
All right. Time for,
another caller?
At least another caller. What's up? What's your name? Where are you calling in from?
What's up, guys?
Yo.
WeeabooJones, but just call me Mike. It's easier. I'm from Austin.
Shout out to Austin. What's going on, Mike? What's your question for us today?
So, I just wanted to bring up a topic that I can't remember what episode it was from, but we were talking about more things we could do to expose Melee, and I think the topic was having something similar to the chess PogChamps. And I just wanted to ask your opinion on do you still think that's a good idea, and maybe discuss like who we would bring in on the Melee side versus the Twitch streamer side and so forth.
Walk through that again for people that might not know what PogChamps is, and I don't fully have the full picture of it in my head, so it benefits me too.
Okay, so yeah, I didn't even really know about it too. The way I found about it was just like a lot of the esports YouTube channels I watch. So PogChamps was basically a way to popularize chess on Twitch, and it took a lot of pros from the chess scene, like Hikaru,
Yeah.
He's the only big one I really remember from.
They all coached big streamers, and then the streamers played at a tournament at the end. Is that right?
Yeah, exactly.
And there was a consolation bracket, so you basically never felt like you were completely out of it, and then it was just kind of like just getting as much exposure, as much eyeballs in the game as possible, because obviously they're bringing communities.
Yeah,
and I guess like is there potential to do that with Melee kind of thing?
Yeah, because like the like bringing in like more coaching type stuff. Like I love the Mango Scar vids that Mango puts out every once in a while. So
yeah, those are
seeing
dope.
more of that would be cool.
So I thought about this for a while, and I came to the conclusion that yes, we should do it. And I think what kind of for a long time I was kind of hung up on the fact that like, well, there's only so good you can get at Melee in a short period of time. I mean, obviously, chess is the same way. Chess is an incredibly deep game. You're not going to get that good in the span of a month or whatever.
Yeah.
But I realized that I actually think that as long as the skill level, and I talked about this with, I think it was Stans or Atrioc on a stream one time. I think that for a long time I was thinking, well, they're not going to reach that high of a level of play, so it's not going to be that exciting to watch. But I actually realized that's not true. And the thing that made me realize that's not true is there have been some sets at tournaments I've gone to, the most notable being at Pat's House 1, there was a money match between Greater Leon versus versus J-Kun. And it was this that basically came down to random tippers that killed at 20%.
Do you remember Chris Best and Net 1234?
Chris Best and Net 1234, obviously they're a little bit better, but they were choking like crazy. So same way. I think like low-level spaghetti Melee is actually incredibly fun to watch, as long as one player is not way better than the other.
Yes.
So I think we should do it. I think it's fun to watch. I think it would grow the game.
Maybe we can even get Ludwig.
Logistics. Yeah, I think Ludwig would certainly be down to help out. He's
nice. He's so big. I don't know, man. He's got D&D into marbles. I don't know if he's got time.
Right. D&D into marbles. So he's got, his thing, but I feel like we could definitely get Ludwig, and then I think we go from there. I don't know. Ninja likes Melee. Maybe we get Ninja. Isn't he just playing League of Legends now? Isn't that what we talked about?
Yeah, we were talking about that before stream before we went live. Yeah.
What better things did Ninja? He's just, isn't he just kind of cruising right now? Isn't he just big chilling?
He's big chilling. Yeah. So Ninja, I don't know. Maybe he like having competitive juice. I will say, I think Ludwig probably would just be too strong for the streamer, but he could commentate it
like a host. I think.
I
think you take Ludwig. I was thinking about this. I think you don't put him in as a player because he would put him in, because he is pretty good. I think you take him, or you could run it like PogChamps, where you have because PogChamps is kind of set up in such a way where you kind of have a natural set of people that go into the champion bracket, and then you have a natural set of people that are going to go into the consolation bracket. And you could kind of set it up that way. I don't know, Simply and Ludwig had a money match or something on stream the other week. And Simply, obviously he's a big speedrun streamer, but he's pretty good, actually. He's got a pretty competent Marth. Apparently he's entered a tournament or two before. So I don't know. Maybe we could even find enough people. I'm not sure. TLDR, I haven't thought a ton about it, but I think we should do it.
Yeah, it's a good growth event for Melee. It's not the type of thing I think about much, because I'm usually like, well, what do I want to do for Radio Melee, or what do I want to do for my stream, or how's my garden doing? And these are just things that I'm thinking about, and it would just be better if I did think about PogChamp Melee stuff, but I just usually don't. That being said, it does just, like Toph's saying, it would work. I imagine it. I'm imagining, how people, especially when they're new, when they're trying to do a button, they do their whole thing with their, that's fun to watch. Especially I don't know. I feel like, I don't know if we could even get someone like Hassan, but I feel like from the little bit of his stuff I've seen, I feel like he's someone that would do this, and that would be fun to watch. But just anyone that's playing, or the post-game interviews from the players, I think Melee, because it's easy for people to kind of watch and tell what's going on. It's not as complicated like a lot of other games. People won't be asking, who's up, who's down. In chess, I don't really play chess, but I had a lot of fun even just watching that little bar along the side. Someone would move and then the bar would go all the way up here, all the way down. I'm like, oh snap! So that was I almost had more fun watching that than I did anything else. And so I think people they might not know what's going on, but maybe someone is the stocks are tied and someone loses one quickly. They're like, oh snap, it's getting real. They don't even have to really know, right? But I think that would be kind of fun. Like I could see like there are ways you could make that interesting for people. And so I think I don't have any issue with the idea. I think it's just a matter of like the logistics and like the right people coming together. Maybe if Ludwig likes it, that's also it is an important force because he's got the clout, so that helps. But yeah, I mean, it's totally possible. I think it's a great idea. It's just a matter of I think the right people coming together and the willpower and figuring out how to market it well so it really helps Melee. And maybe that's something that we don't do yet. Maybe we do it more when IRL events are a thing again. So we can like, oh yeah, if you like this, there's an event coming up that you can go. I don't know the right way to do it or the right timing, but like, like we want it to have it to benefit Melee, not just be this one-off thing where it's like, yeah, okay, you watch Melee, now you go back to your life. So I don't know what that would be like, but yeah, it's an interesting thing to bring up, and I think it's really cool.
Yeah, because like there were like 3 of them, weren't there? Like there were like you don't want it to just be a one and done. You want to bring people back. So
in the series, which is cool.
Yeah,
I think chess is the kind of chess is the kind of no-brainer game where it's like, with chess, a lot of people played it as a kid. Your dad taught you how to play or whatever. But,
yeah.
I think with chess it's a no-brainer, but I think Smash Bros. Smash Bros. Has that, right? I think a lot of especially
everyone knows Smash.
A lot of people played, and even Melee. Like, a lot of people like my age played it in college and stuff like that. I think there's a lot of people, and there are a lot of big streamers that are like kind of like, later upper 20s and things like that, that were kind of when we were kids, Melee was the big game. So I think there actually could be a surprising number of people that would kind of be down.
Yeah, like look at XQC is going to be doing his subathon, so he'll need something to play. Like you said, Ninja's going to be, who knows if we want him in there or not, but yeah, Ninja's just cruising.
So insane.
Shroud played Mortal Kombat the other day, so like you never know who might be down.
Ludwig uses his Shroud hour to just have him commentate. That would be fun. I don't know. Yeah, these are cool ideas. I mean, I also think it would be very fun for me to like coach one of them or something. I don't know. I love coaching anyway.
Yeah,
so
that's the thing.
You
kind of fun. More like exposure to everyone else too in the scene, because they'd be assigned who they would coach. So
yeah, and I just think like friendships and cool collabs across Twitch are just fun anyway. So I think that'd be fun. Because I only watch them, but like it'd be kind of cool to participate. It'd be a fun time. That's me personally. I'm not really trying to say like I want it for me. I'm just thinking about it. I'm like, oh, that'd be neat.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's a cool idea, man. I love the suggestion. Toph, do you have anything else you want to add to that, or?
No, I just got to start thinking about it.
Yeah, it's cool. Mike, is there anything else you want to ask about this?
No, not really. They answered it very well.
Cool deal. Well, thank you for calling in. I love the question. And any shout outs before you go on your way?
So obviously with my name, you can tell I'm going to give a shout out to someone you just actually collabed with, Valparia, because we need all the new VTubers on the scene, get some more exposure.
Yeah, anime rise up.
Yep. Great streamer.
Yeah.
And
sure.
One last thing, obviously, I've been watching Melee a long time, like just Smash in general. So for a long time, I knew everybody. I knew all the stuff, but there was one person I didn't know, and it was you, dude. It was you, PP. So just a shout out to you, man.
I make it hard, to be fair.
Yeah. So like just the past couple of years, I've seen so much more from you, and I love it. So just keep on doing what you do. Dude.
Thank you so much. I really appreciate that. It's very kind of you.
All right, guys. You have a good one.
You too, man.
Good to talk to you.
Yeah. Wow. WeeabooJones. Who would have suspected?
Who would have? Yeah, that's right. That's right. I mean, dude, it's it's a good question, man. Grow the game. That's something that I've been thinking about lately. That's something I've definitely been thinking about lately. Hopefully, I don't know, man. I mean, maybe over here at Golden Gardens, maybe we can put something together. I don't know. Maybe
that's a good point. I'm sure the staff, as excited as busy they are for the upcoming possible project, they want to hear about a new one right now. So I'm sure they're hyped to hear that.
We can wait until after
Yeah. We'll talk about that later. But yeah, I mean,
Mortal Kombat did a thing recently. Mortal Kombat had they had a tournament with a bunch, and then I saw someone was playing Shiva, and I think she did some cheap move, and then I don't remember who won it, but the guy that won it was Shiva. He like made a tweet apologizing. He's like, "Yeah, I'm so sorry. I saw a lot of people upset with the way I played."
Oh no!
he used some, it was like some projectile spam or something. And then there were a bunch of FGC people that came in and they're like, no. That's what you're supposed to do. You got to play it such a way that makes them mad. Like you got to like that's.
Can you imagine?
That's how the game is played.
Can you imagine, Toph, if like after the "You Gonna Learn Today" video came out, Justin Wong was like on Twitter, he's like, "Man, I'm so sorry. Hey, shout outs to this kid and his family." That'd be crazy. Oh man, yeah.
That I'm trying to see someone take it all with like short up laser spam Falco or spam Peach or something. You know what I mean? I'm trying to see some dirty stuff. I'm trying to see stuff.
I want to see. I'd love to see some nonsense, and then in the second melee PogChamps or whatever we call it, they get the run back, right? Like the laser spam is countered. People space around the down smash.
Yeah, that happened in PogChamps 1, man. I mean, I think it was kind of cool watching players like Ludwig and XQC who had market improvement from PogChamps 1 to PogChamps 3.
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know. I just I think there's a lot of possibility there. A lot of possibility there.
I mean, I really do feel, because I mean the people, the streamers, right? They're already natural entertainers. So like
right,
they'll in their interviews and everything, like they're gonna really like keep it engaging too. So I think it's just a matter of like, is this content interesting enough for them to devote time to, and for the other people, how do we market it, and then how do we make sure it grows melee? I think it's a lot of fun. So I think there's a lot of potential there. Absolutely fantastic question.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, really, it also just kind of speaks to how, we're in charge of growing the scene. We, the people that are part of it, whether we're figureheads or someone else, like this is someone calling in, reminding us of a good idea. And we're like, oh yeah, this could be great. And so this is like everyone trying to do our best to make melee this bigger and more beautiful thing. And so, I love that, we're directing it. And I think that's a ton of fun too. I love that we're kind of in this phase of melee now where we can think about what do we want to do to actively grow it? Because this is in our hands. Even if it's weird to think about, and we're often thinking about day to day, it's great to ask these long-term questions and do that stuff.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, that's what we're here for. That's what I'm here for. That's what I'm here for. That's what I'm thinking about. That's what keeps me up at night. That and SCL and Summit. I mean, I think it's really cool that we got some real events with real stakes just around the corner.
Yeah, absolutely. And I mean, kind of to bring it back to that for a moment, I was kind of writing down a few questions for this at the beginning here, and I was kind of thinking, Toph, just to throw it to something else, kind of tie everything back, because again, we had a really interesting weekend, and I think something that people didn't talk about so much, I kind of brought it up before, Plup really bringing a lot more for Sheik back, and then I think Polish and Kazoo are even doing a good bit more for Peach. I mean, for quite a while, I mean, I think Wad was... What's that?
Oh, I got to tell you though, it was so perfect, man. I didn't watch the set. I heard they camped like crazy. I saw Polish. I wasn't commentating. I needed a nap. And I took a nap at the beginning of game 1. I woke up from my nap somewhere in the middle of game 3, and I was like, perfect. Exactly what I want. I had time.
They did it for you. They did it for you, man.
Right. So
shout
out to those guys. But their sets, Polish had a crazy run at I guess it was Levo, right?
Mm-hmm.
Polish looking. Yeah, I think Peach. I even saw in the Discord here. This was a question that WeeabooJones, who we just had on, he was one of the questions. He had another question he wanted to ask about Peach as a character, and hoping the character would get more exposure. I think WeeabooJones apparently is a Peach, but I think man. I think Peach is. I think melee players. I mean, if there's one thing I think we all need to get better at, I think it's recency bias, man. I think people don't see Armada for a couple years. They're like, oh well, Peach must be a mid tier. She must just not be that good. I think that character is super good. I think that character. I loved having Leffen on the commentary for some of the Kazoo and some of the Polish this weekend, because Leffen was talking about some Peach stuff, talking about her strengths, talking about kind of her quirkiness as a character. I love Leffen describing her as a character that's at once just kind of crazy because she's really slow in a lot of ways, but she's also really fast in some other ways. Like her frame data is incredible.
Yes. And actually she's got some really strong shield pressure. She hits like a truck. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah,
her moves come out really once she's on top of you, really got to respect the speed at which her moves come out and how safe they can be. And, so she's kind of this interesting combination of like, kind of slow movement, but also with some really cool movement tricks.
Yeah, and like also just burst tank.
Yeah, exactly. And it was cool getting to see both. I love that Kazu's doing well. I've always been a Kazu fan as a person and as a player. And then on the other side of things, I've always felt like Kazu is the guy that's really carrying the Armada torch. Like if you actually just look at their playstyle, Kazu obviously always basically emulated Armada through his career, and I think it really shows his playstyle. And then you look at some of the more like new school, I guess, if it's fair to call Polish that.
Okay.
Like I think like players like Ryobeat, for example, are Polish, where they're kind of bring a lot of tricky kind of stuff to the table. And they're a little bit more swag monsters, from here and there. Yeah, to see multiple, different types of representation for the characters' playstyles.
Kind of reminds me a little bit of Falcon.
Yeah, sure. A little bit.
Now,
Yeah.
I don't know how much peach labbing is done. I know some is done, but it'd be kind of interesting if, I don't know, year, 2 years, 3 years from now, we're seeing a bunch of peaches up there. And I imagine this is not as exciting to some people as it is seeing 3 Falcons, but still, I think we need to consider that possibility. It's not something guaranteed, right? We don't really know where Polish is going to go. Kazu also kind of is kind of coming back again more recently. So we don't really know what the longevity on that is, but at least there's something to consider for that now, just like there was something to consider with the different Falcons, 2 or 3 years ago. And now look, so, how it turns out is still anyone's guess, but it's something to consider. And so, yeah, I mean, I really do think the story, of course, the storyline, I think most reasonably should be, oh, let's talk about Wizzy and let's talk about what this means for Falcon and him and everything else going into this next thing. But I think there was more going on. I think one of the more interesting ones was the peach thing. So yeah, I really wanted to at least mention that and think about what that could mean for some of the future. And because everyone, like you said, Toph, everyone's like, oh, no Armada, dead character. And will someone, really break through and do all the Armada stuff and then some, and have that consistency and everything. And I think it'd be really interesting to see how will they treat Peach and how will that look so different? Because I don't think anyone's going to be able to fully replicate Armada. I think he was so committed to his game plan, but you never know where everyone else could go with that and what flavor they put on it. So it's really interesting, and I'm curious to see what those players do. And then, like I said with Sheik, I mean, yeah, Plup's coming up and doing stuff, but I mean, there's Ben who has not been playing recently. He's been playing for years and years, and so it just looks like it's recent because everything finally came together for him. But then rollback allowed him to do it and everything. So
that's kind of how it is. That's kind of how it is.
Yeah,
you're not gonna see someone play for a couple months and just be really good.
Yeah.
But I think it's totally reasonable that people who start playing, today, by the time tournaments are back in full swing, I think it's totally reasonable that we could see at least one person who really started playing hard in the Slippy era, putting in some work in offline tournaments. I think that could totally happen.
Sure. And I mean, if you're wondering, can I start today? Oh, there's so much history, or players are so good now, or whatever. I mean, look, Wizzy just overcame a 21 loss streak against Mango to win. If you don't believe, and then there's so much information. There's I'm answering questions on my stream all the time, and there's so much out there. You have to hunt to find it sometimes, but it's out there. So if you want to get into Melee, now's a great time to do it. So even if you're like, oh, well, I didn't start, then I can't. No, you can. And everyone has their own journey. Maybe you started, then you stopped, or whatever. But yeah, Melee is awesome, and I really encourage everyone checking it out to have a great time with it at whatever way you want to enjoy it. I think there are people that kind of talk about that some too. But yeah, I don't know if there's anything that you want to run through, Toph, or if you're feeling pretty satisfied with how this all went today.
I think that's about it for me, man.
All right. Well, hey, thank you so much again for joining me. Powerful, intuitive, and intelligent. So glad to have you with us. And thank you guys all out there for tuning in as well. The questions were awesome. And hope you guys have a great rest of your day.
And by the way, I think we've got a pretty dope guest lineup for next week. Not 100% locked in yet, so I'm not going to spoil it. But stay tuned. Follow us on Twitter and all that stuff. Make sure you subscribe to the Golden Guardians Melee YouTube channel.
Yes, sir.
As soon as I have the guest locked in for next week, I'll let you guys know. But it should be a lot of fun. See you guys around. And by the way, I see people asking my stream chat. I'll be live later today too. So follow us on Twitch as well, because me and PP stream pretty much every day, or at least every weekday.
Yes, that's correct. So yeah, thank you so much again, Toph, letting the people know what's going on. We always something to look forward to here at Radio Melee. So hope you guys will continue to tune in. And yeah, wonderful episode in the books. Hope you guys have a great rest of your day. Thank you for tuning in. This is Radio Melee signing out.